What's up? What's up? Can you guys hear me? It has been a minute since I've streamed, so a little rusty, but I think we'll get it all worked out. Let me know if I'm loading the project right now, but let me know if there's any like any weird audio things going on. I think my cam's good. My cam's not the best setup right now, but hopefully gonna fix that for next week. Trying to do the best with what I have for right now. How you guys doing? I haven't opened this project in quite a while, so hopefully it opens. Cool. I think it looks like it's good. So the project file that we're going to be going over is the produced and mixed version. I'm pretty sure, double check here, but I'm pretty sure I do not have, or I do have, but I'm just not going to open, I probably won't open it today, is the mastered file, because so I'm working mostly in Ableton now, but this project was still in Logic, and when I was working in Logic, I would split my production mixing sessions away from my mastering sessions. They'd be two different project files. And this one, yep, that's how I did it. So if we get to it, we have time. Maybe we can, if you guys are interested to see the master, we can open that up. But that's a separate project file. I think for right now, we're going to focus on the production and mix components. We can go through the vocals, all that kind of stuff. Cool. Yeah. So is there anything, I mean, typically for these breakdowns, I just kind of go group by group. So as you can see, it's set up. I have my sidechain group, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Then typical drum setups like drums, percussion, forget VR, that's not really worth anything. Vocals, chords, leads, acoustic guitar, bass, sub, effects, all the good stuff. And then these are just, you can ignore that as well. Yeah, so typically I just go by group and just go through the different components that make up the group. But if you guys want to see something specific, let me know. And I can like for instance, if you want to see like more of the processing on the guitars or like how I got the tone or whatever, we can look at that. But yeah, first let's listen to it because I think this is the right version. Not positive though. Let me know if everything sounds good, by the way.
I went on the long way to try to get my head around. Are you what you say? 'Cause I don't want to waste time. So take us all the way to places that I've never been. I want to escape all the pain that we've been holding on for too long. That we've been holding on for too long. That we've been holding on for too long.
For all the metering nerds out there. All right, so it actually sounds pretty good. A lot of my older songs I actually fixed a lot of stuff in the masters, but the mix down on this one sounds pretty solid. Yeah, I guess we'll just jump into it. Jump into the drums. What do we have for the drums? Okay, so the main drums, so the way I split this out is like my drums group is kind of more the the core drums for the song, so like your kick, your snare. And in this one, that's pretty much all I did. It's just kick and snare, and I think there's some hi-hats, but they're all hidden up in these MIDI regions. I can actually split these out. I think it's split by pitch, yeah. So this is how it actually looks. So these are my kicks. I have two different kicks in this. Well, I guess only one different kick. No, I have two different kicks in this song. Couple different snares and some layers. The kick, so this is during the drop, it looks like. Sounds like this. So it's pushed quite heavily. Actually, hold up, I gotta move that a little bit so I can. Yeah. Kicks pushed pretty heavy. I'm basically, if you've seen any of my other breakdowns, you know that when I'm working in Logic, I love this plugin a lot. I use it a lot. I usually, towards like lately or my last couple projects in Logic, I was using mostly just the limiter, or the soft clipping, soft limiting function. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Basically just using it as a clipper. That's with a kick. I don't even know what the sample is. It's a blank kick actually. So already clipped, and then I pushed it harder because why not? And then that's sending into one of my favorite plugins. This is on the whole drum group, is the big clipper, and I'm just doing some hard clipping here. Not like with just the kick, it's not actually clipping anything, but when the full drum group would go in, it would start to clip, just to kind of control some of the dynamics coming out of the kick bus. Let's listen to the whole thing actually. Wait, hold up. There we go. You have to excuse me, I haven't used Logic in a while, so I'm a little rusty. It's not too bad. This snare, this is the main layer, it sounds like. So, some chime snare sample. Again, a little bit of compression, VCA compression, a little bit of soft clipping, and then some Pro Q just to kind of reshape it a little bit. It's without it. And with it. Ooh. Very subtle. It really was just to help it poke out of the mix just a tiny bit more. You hear it more in context with the mix. This is the layer. So. Very subtle, but basically all that's really doing is just giving like a little bit more kind of mid presence, or like, yeah, basically like the 800 to probably 2K, or we'll see right here. Yeah, 600 to about 4,000. So just giving it a little bit more oomph in that area, because this snare is a lot more, this main snare, there's a lot more energy in this area. So I just kind of wanted to give it some more mids, and this is scooping out some of that to make room for the other layer. Clap, I think, was actually muted. I might not even be using these. Honestly, I don't know. Okay. So this is the reason, one of the main reasons I moved from Logic to Ableton. I'm gonna have to reload the project. So if you've seen my other breakdowns, you'll also know that Logic likes to do this funky thing, at least in the version that I'm using, where it just stops working after a few minutes or an hour or 2 hours. I don't know. Sometimes it's very random. Sometimes it'll like go for 3 hours, no problem. And then sometimes, like just now, it was like 10 minutes, and then it just basically had this weird glitch where if I hit the space bar, it stops. It doesn't actually play. So the only way to start it or to fix it is to restart the program. And I've never found a solution, scoured the forums. So it's very annoying. And it usually only happens towards the end of a project when there's like a bunch of CPU usage and all that kind of stuff. And it also only ever started happening like after I updated to a certain version. So I don't know what it's all about, but that's where we're at with that. So we might have to do that a couple times, unfortunately, moving through this breakdown, but try to keep it moving along. Yeah, Ableton, I don't have this issue. Like I get CPU overload sometimes. Just overloads and gets crackly. I don't have to restart the project. Oh well. Logic is still good though. I still use it for other things. I just don't use it for my full productions. I use it for like tracking and like recording vocals, recording guitar. I think it's actually better than Ableton for that matter, but yup. Okay. See if we can get through this. So, I mean, that's honestly, I showed you most of the drums. Like, there's not really, I think maybe in the second verse, there's some other stuff going on, but most of it, of the percussion in the song is like, or like the drums and percussion are in the next group. This is like a rim shot, but there's, I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. I'm not really doing anything special here. Like, yeah. And then most of it's actually coming from here. So, sorry about that. We'll go ahead and actually just go into the next group, because there's, like I said, I'm not doing anything special with the kick or the snare in this song. Like, it's really standard stuff. Waiting for this to re-up. What are you guys using? Like FL, Ableton? Where you at with that? I know some people in the Discord use Logic. I think one or two people use Logic, but yeah. Yep. I feel that. Honestly, I have some friends that use FL. I don't understand how anyone uses it. It's like, I don't know. It's so disorganized. Crazy to me. Like having the MIDI and the audio be assignable to any clip or however they do it, it's just like really, really messy. And every FL project I've ever seen has always been super messy. It's like, kills my workflow. I couldn't do it. I know some people thrive with that, so to each their own. All right, let's look at the percussion, because there is some cool stuff that I'm doing in the verses. You can see by all these freaking layers. Actually, one of my favorite things about this song is this loop that I did. This percussion loop. So let's listen to this real quick. So, let's get all these like snares out, because the interesting stuff is all this. Take that out. Wait, what? I figure out where that snare's coming from. Oh, I know where it's coming from. There it is. So yeah, this little loop is pretty cool because there's like a cat purring sample and all sorts of weird stuff in here. So basically the idea is we've got it's split into just two types of hits. You've got a stomp hit and then a like a hit, like a snare type of hit or something like that. So you have a stomp and then a hit right here. And then this little section is kind of an intermediate just to give it a little bit more movement or bounce, so to speak. But this is made up of a bunch of different things. And in terms of layering, I'm not really, as you can see, like on the left side, you'll see the plugins that are on this channel. I'm not really doing any EQing, anything like that. It's all just choosing the samples the right way, like choosing the exact tone of the type of samples I want and making them fit together more in a temporal way, less of a frequency way. So instead of stacking them all at the same time and then just like carving out notches for them all to fit, I'm more lining them up in different ways so that the transients line up and aren't clashing, if that makes sense. And I feel like this is a cleaner way to do drum stacking. This is the way that I still do it today. And also, like, if you just push all this into a drum bus, like I'm pushing it into a clipper and into an EQ, if you like the sound of it and it works, then, you know, why overcomplicate it with extra EQ and all that kind of stuff? So that's what ended up happening here. So we've got this first hit. I don't want this thing playing. Hold up. We're going to do this. So that's kind of the first hit there. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say here other than it's just, you know, picking the samples that I thought sounded cool together, tonality wise. I think, you know, you've got the mentality here is to have something that will have some punch. And just looking at the waveforms, you can tell that these two are the ones that have more of the punch. And this one has more of a tail, and this one's got more of a clean sub frequency in it. That's what you can see with this kind of bigger oscillating wave. If you see this type of like clearer oscillation in a sample, then you know that it has a more dominant sub frequency. So it's kind of like the mentality. I could basically just pick out what samples I want to use just from looking at the waveform. But I mean, of course, I'm using my ears as well. And a lot of these have like top end textures as well to kind of help, you know, feed more into that and give me more of a style that I'm looking for. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the hit. And then you've got, or I'm sorry, the stomp. This is the hit. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the intermediate one. So it's kind of like a secondary stomp, so to speak. But it's got this tom layer or tom sample on top. So it's almost like a tom hit, not another stomp. So if you're thinking like, if you're playing drums, it's like a stomp, like a kick almost, tom hit, and then a snare or like a more high frequency hit is going to be the main thing. So that's what this batch of samples are, is more of like that tom type of hit. No, I don't want to do that. And then this is the hit, so to speak. So what's cool about this is a couple of different things. One is the lead up. There's this metallic little like this guy right here. I think it's this one. Yeah. So I think that's just like honestly probably from some RPG sound effects pack that I found on Splice. I feel like those are pretty good for having these like textural elements to your hits and like your percussion. And it's just like a metal like moving chain sound almost, but it almost sounds like it's downsampled a bit. So that's kind of what's going on with that. And then a couple other like little sweeps. Yeah, that's just kind of like a little crackle thing to help kind of give some of that high frequency tone. Another thing there. This looks like it's probably like some kind of grain Foley type sound. Yeah, so similar, I mean, the same type of idea of what this one's doing, except it's less metallic and more, or not less metallic, but more high frequency and less kind of beefy. And then you've got just a normal clap hit. Like a snare clappy thing. But then the metal texture comes in. Yeah. And I feel like for this, I really like adding metal textures to my percussion, to my drums overall. I think it just like, it gives the type of style and the tonality that I like to hear in drums. Like a bit colder, but also a bit more aggressive at the same time. And then this is like the beef of the whole hit is this snare. So I use this sample in probably every project. I love this snare sample. It's just a Wave Racer like real snare sample. It's from his Splice pack, but excellent sample. Yeah, and the overall loop, it's pretty much that those are the same hits every time. The only difference is like there's a couple little intermediate things that come here and there just to shuffle the groove a bit, but those are the 3 hits. There's a second one there as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just cutting out the clap and the metal on that last one so that it can ease into the transition into the next section, which is the pre, I believe. Actually, I think that was actually into the drop. So that's that. Drop percussion. We'll look at that. Pretty much just a bunch of top loops, if I remember correctly. I use a lot of high frequency percussion in my drop. So a lot of hats, flashes, just cymbals in general. Like they help kind of bring the energy up a lot in drops without having to add all those like mid frequency synths to kind of fill things up. And this is what they sound like. Yeah, a little fill in there. That fill, what is that? That's a blank. That's some blank fill from one of his samples, I think, from his Patreon. And I cut it up and just like moved it around, I think. Yeah, there's a drum loop in here. I think it's this one that has, it's like high pass, but it has a kick in it. But I mean, it gets buried, so it's not a huge deal. Yeah, there it is. I'm pretty sure that's like rejoined or recreated after I like moved the kick and the snare around a bit. I could be wrong though. I just don't remember if that's what the exact original loop sounds like. I tend to, when I use those types of loops, I tend to align them with, or try to align them with the kick and the snare of, you know, my kick and snare that I'm using. So there's some like continuity there, but sometimes I don't. I usually do though. But yeah, I think that's mostly it for drop percussion. That fill is the only extra thing, and there's like some crashes and stuff. Yeah, so nothing crazy. The second verse drums are pretty cool. This is where like the punky stuff comes in. So the majority of the work here is coming from the Easy Drummer. I don't know if this was, I think this is something a loop I wrote actually, but I'm pretty much just copying this Travis Barker loop. I use it as a template, and I kept it in for some of the transient sounds, so like some of the transients in there, but they're very subtle. They're just kind of like just barely layering in there. But Easy Drummer is like, I use it in any type of song that uses these type of drums pretty much. The pop punk edition or add-on, whatever it is, expansion, is great. The drums sound absolutely amazing, and like 9 times out of 10 they're mixed, are pretty much ready to go. I usually just add some saturation and some compression just to get them a little bit louder in the mix, because you know they're mixed for pop punk songs, not for EDM songs, so you got to run them a little bit hotter. But yeah, for this one I use the SJC Torque kit. I typically go with either Jaw or Pop Punk. They have a bit more of an aggressive punky feel to it. This one feels more like a stadium type kit, where it's just cleaner and it just has like more like hollow tones, so to speak. But it worked for this like Michelle Branch early Y2K or mid Y2K type of vibe that I had for too long. Like, that's kind of what the verse vibe was supposed to be, was kind of like that throwback Michelle Branch, early Avril Lavigne type of thing, like clean acoustic, pretty clean hollow tone drums, stuff like that. So that's kind of what I was going for with that. The processing, doing a little bit of surgical work here, just kind of cutting a lot of this 200. That is the one thing about this Easy Drummer, is they tend to mix a lot in the low mids. There tends to be like a lot of beef down here. And with an EDM mix, it gets pretty crowded pretty quickly in the low mid. So I just shaved quite a bit of that. Compressor, what am I doing on this actually? Curious. All right, so it's just basically kissing it. It's like, no, it's not doing much. So a pretty fast attack, letting a tiny bit of the transient get in, but it's grabbing it pretty quickly. And then also like letting go pretty quickly. So it's basically just like compressing the transient a bit, that mid transient a bit. So it's not too pokey, so to speak. But yeah, that's that. Little Radiator, this plugin, I always forget to use it. Or recently I've been forgetting to use it, but it used to be a staple in my production, where it's like I used to put on everything. It's a great plugin. Really good for drums and for even for vocals, like putting on a vocal bus. And I probably have it on these vocals actually. Just basically, I normally pull off the heat just a little bit and crank up the mix, and it's just like adds a little bit of that kind of analog hot signal sound to it. Like it's running through analog gear, but running a little hot through it. Really like that plugin. That's pretty much it for the punky drums. I think there's a second. No, that's the snare. So that's just, or not snare, that's the rim song, or rim. I have a rim layer in there. You can like barely hear it. Okay. Yeah, and the rest of the drums are the same. So, and then you've got the same orchestral type of crazy build there, and then the second drums, or the second drop drums, are the same. So I think that about does it. Yo, what's up, Triadics? Welcome. Just getting through with the drums for this one. Does anyone have any questions about any kind of drum stuff, percussion, yada yada yada? Before I move on, probably gonna move on to like the bulk of them. Probably do the vocals like. Yeah, before I move on, just let me know. You want anything else? Want me to check anything else with the drums? Agons. What's up, intern? camera's here, but like that screen's up there. I said it earlier, but yeah, my camera setup isn't the best right now. So hopefully next week I can have that improved. But right now, like, it's been a while since I've streamed, so cam setup isn't optimal. But we're making do, that's for sure. My audio's cutting out. Was it just my mic or is it the full audio? Like, how does... Hold up. Like, if I just play the audio right there.
I went on the long way to try to get
Okay. If it was just my mic, how is it now? It might have just been because I was like moving in and out of the sweet spot. It's not like the best mic. I don't think I have... I might have a noise gate on it too. Let me double check that. I do have a noise gate on it. Okay, yeah, I'm probably just moving in and out of the sweet spot. I have a noise gate. I'm going to back that off a little bit. So it should be smoother, hopefully. Cool. All right. Yeah, so if that about does it for the drums, well, let's move on to the chords. Let's see what we got. I think I need to do this. Oh man. Okay. So those are the verse chords. I know it's pretty quiet. It's just they're quieter in the mix. Let me actually let me throw on a quick limiter just to make everything a little bit louder. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the verse chords. I think the drop chords are similar, but let's see. Let's open these bad boys up. So piano and that string layer, same chords. Pretty simple. If you've seen my other breakdowns, I tend to structure my chords pretty similarly in like every song. Where is this an octave? It is. So I'll either do an octave jump between the root note. So it's like, you know, this is your basic progression here, right? And then an octave up is the next voice in the chord. And then I have, oh, my bad. And then I have the top voice, which is kind of leading. And then looks like I have a seventh here and stuff like that. Or a fifth, I'm sorry, a fifth there. But I'll either do it like that, or I have an octave jump between the first and second voice, or I'll do a perfect fifth. So it's like your root note, and then it would be, you know, up 7 would be your perfect fifth, right? So typically the way that I structure my chords, it has a bit more of a, it's kind of similar to how they used to do things back in the 80s, like 80s style production. They're cleaner in the lower frequency, in the lower voices, and then you stack them in the higher voices. Tends to lead to like cleaner sounding chords. Sorry, having a hard time speaking. But anyways, progression, just basically an F. Yeah, so C, A minor 7, G, and then for those of you, I'm not that great with theory, but I'm just reading off. Logic kind of tells you, or gives its best guess on what these chords are. From what I found, it's pretty good most of the time. But yeah. Yeah. So nothing crazy here. I mean, a lot of these, like this top voice, the way that I normally do it is just by ear. I just I get the bass progression down. And then I just build it from there, like a building block. Some of these, like, sometimes I'll throw in these more dissonant style chords where it's, you know, it's like a sus chord, or I guess in that case, it'll add 11, but it's also a sus something is the same type of chord, but, yeah. So add 11, sus 2, sus 4s, all that kind of stuff. They help kind of spice up your progression a bit and make them sound, yeah, they just make them sound a bit more emotional, so to speak. So that's that piano. And then for the piano sound, I do keyscape for my pianos. I think they have the best sounding pianos, to be honest. I usually use the soft one, and then I'll like shift the color down. It just has like a more of a rounded tone to it. If we listen to that real quick. So, I mean, very flat, like in terms of expression, right? Like it's all the same velocity. It's all like, there's no sus pedal coming or sustain pedal or anything. I'm not doing kind of like intermediate chords. There's no rhythm with the chords, so to speak. But that usually works with melodic bass for the most part. You don't really want too complicated of like a piano section. It's more of just like a layer, so to speak. So that's kind of how I'm doing that. The strings, I'm using Omnisphere in this case. Lately, I've been using Labs a lot, though. Spitfire Labs, I think it is. But, well, the Adagio Espressivo. So, pretty basic. I pretty much just relying on the patch for this one. This is making room for the piano. If I were to take it out. Like on its own, you could probably say that sounds better without the dip. But again, I'm making room for the piano in those low mids. I wanted the piano tones in these low mids, so that's why I dipped the strings out. And some OTT to kind of bring out, because I wanted some of the like the texture of the strings to be brought out, so that's why I put OTT on this. And then some low pass filtering, just take some of the highs out just to clean up the mix a bit. Saturation, a shit ton of compression. And yeah, pretty much it for the strings. And agreed, yeah, Labs is very nice. I really like how easy it is to automate like the expressiveness of the strings and everything, which is not as easy to do in Omnisphere. So that's why I've been using Labs in my newer projects more. But and then I think the last layer for these chords, at least in the verse, is this breath layer, and I put this in pretty much every like melodic song I ever do. But in this case, I already bounced it down to audio. But it's an Omnisphere patch, and you've probably seen it in my other breakdowns. So that right there, those high frequencies is really what I want. It's the airiness that I like from that patch, and it just has like a vocal airiness sound to it. So all my other breakdowns are on they're on YouTube. I think every breakdown I've done, even if it was on Twitch, I recorded it and brought it to YouTube. So everything's on YouTube. That's one of the reasons why I'm streaming on YouTube now, because I can just save the stream instead of having to record the video and all that. So it's just way easier. Yo, what's up, Ethan? Good to see you, dude. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. But yeah, all my other breakdowns on YouTube, so you can check them out. And there, but I think there's only like 2 or 3 right now. I don't know how many there are. For sure. Yeah, I hope to do more, like continue doing more, you know, in the coming weeks and stuff like that. Let's see. So that's pretty much it for the verse stuff. Let's see. Chord stack. I'm sure some of you guys probably really want to see this chord stack, but it's nothing special, honestly. Like, I think the chords, like I said, the layers are probably kind of interesting if I remember correctly, but the chords I think are very similar. It looks like there's a little difference, but yeah, this is, let's do this so we just hear. This is probably the main layer, it sounds like. So it filters in. So Ethan, in terms of sneak peeks, we get towards the end of the stream, I might open up a project or two. Might do a little sneak peek, but it'll be in Ableton. But yeah, like I do want to get through this first before doing any sneak peeks. But we might get there. But yeah, so this is the main layer. Pretty simple stuff. I usually do most of my, like, you know, bass or primary layers for my saw stacks in Synth. They're just the best sounding saws in my opinion, at least for a soft synth. So yeah, nothing crazy. I mean, it's a very basic patch. It's probably the same type of patch I use and everything. Actually, this is a little bit different. Super Saw 2. I normally make my own, but I guess I'd use someone else's in this one. But it's very similar to the ones that I make. Like, it's literally just a bunch of polyphony, detuned, and then I think there's a little bit less detuned, but it's just basically just a bunch of saw with 8 unison voices, just mega stacked, and some white noise, just to give a little. Actually, I'm not even using the white noise. I have it completely off. So there you go. We have the next layer, which is probably a serum. Oh, it's another saw. There's another Synth. So this is just same type of idea, but it's even more detuned, noisier, and pushed out to the sides. Yeah, that's the idea. Just basically fill out, you know, more of the stereo field with more of a high energy, like white noise type of saw. And then the next layer is serum. Typically how I do my stacks is a little bit of Synth, a little bit of serum. This one is just a square wave. Okay, so a little bit of different tonality here. So that hissy tone, or that like aggressive tone, is all coming from the rectify distortion, which is usually not very useful distortion, but in this case, I guess I found a use for it. That's just to give it a bit more of a different tone, give the whole stack a bit more of a different tone. I think this is like my unique layer that I'm doing for the stack. Okay, so I don't have the original patch. It's probably like a really old version of the project. But if I remember correctly, this patch it's an Omnisphere patch, and I think it's like a Japanese choir type thing. I don't use it as much anymore. I used to use it all the time. But I think I just distorted the hell out of it, and like when you, so this little like bit crushy, like glitchy sound when it pitches down. All right, hold up. We're going to have to restart it. All right, I'm going to restart this real quick. But yeah, that like bit crushy, weird like glitch sound when it pitches down is just something native to the patch. Like it basically, when the patch, or the way the patch is made, because it's a sample, it's not like a synth, it gets all weird and like distorts when you pitch bend it, which is why I like that layer. It kind of added that cool element to it. Yeah, so Serum Skin, when I pull it back up, I'll show you. It's anthracite, I think, and they have like 10 different colors. That's just the one that I use. And yeah, so for the vocal chops, we're going to be going into those probably next. Those should be in my lead stack. So that's actually the next section we're going to look into. Yeah, and I'm in a new room. That's a good eye. I'm still trying to work out like how I want to set everything up, but definitely a bit more room than my last space, which is cool. But yeah, we'll see. Oh man. Sorry, just waiting for the project to reload. All right, here we go. Okay. So guitar is definitely going to get into that because I really like the way the guitars came out in this one. So we'll get into that probably after the leads or after the bass. Actually, no, after the leads. We'll do after the leads. Yeah. So chords. I think you mostly got them, honestly. I don't think there was much left. Let's see. Yeah, this is the last layer for the stack. Second verse is the same stuff, more or less. There's a little piano fill here. And then that's pretty much it. There is this fill. What does this sound like? Oh no. It's doing it again. Alright. Yeah. I'm gonna have to restart the project again. It's not liking me today. Wow. That's impressive. Okay. So let me make sure. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So we're gonna have to restart it one more time. We should be good after that. Again, apologize for the logic stuff for this DAW. Just like I said it earlier in the stream, but for those of you who might not have caught it, basically after a recent update I did, probably about like, it wasn't even recent, it was some update in the past, and ever since then, every time I use Logic for an extended period of time, it just like will quit working. Like the audio engine just stops working. It won't let me play anything. So the only way to fix it is to restart it, and unfortunately I haven't found any solution on forums or anything. So, but see, this next bit should be good. So for guitar, or per that question on guitars, I think the simple answer is you can get a good enough sound with pretty much any guitar. Definitely way more difficult to get a solid quality like sound. I'd say like there's a happy medium in my opinion. When you hit the like probably